when I've had too many drinks, I say the most intelligent stuff. I could totally survive a zombie apocalypse. Project Zomboid disproved that. I could totally shoot down an F-35 with a MiG-21. Arma 3 disproved that. I could totally survive in the zone for a week. Well, you'll see how that went thanks to Stalker Anomaly and its ridiculous amount of mods for a mod such as the Gamma mod pack, which gives you the closest thing to a real life experience, but Anomaly is a sandbox experience that plops you down in a desolate part of Ukraine where you need to fend for your life. You can do various quests such as escorts, hostage rescue, trying to find an artifact, or even rarer items such as a basic toolkit, or you can try and complete the main quest, which has you following in the footsteps of the man who can't even remember his own name. Really, there's no boundary in what you want to do, but there is a common goal of trying to survive to see another day. Okay, that's a little dramatic. You just save scum, honestly. But you've probably seen other YouTubers say Gamma is this incredible thing, and rightfully so. It compounds on Anomaly to make the game more punishing and have better visuals so you can see yourself commit unalive by a controller with better graphics. But I will be focusing more on base Anomaly since a lot of you are probably new to this, and this is a better way to dip your toes into the playstyle rather than spending hours downloading 60 gigabytes worth of mods just to throw yourself into what is essentially a volcano and expect you to swim. But I'll go into more detail later on. But to give you an idea of what you're getting yourself into, let me demonstrate how my current run went. I started in Cordon so I could do some basic quests, but before doing that I had to make myself acquainted with a true Ukrainian hero who also happens to have impeccable music taste. But I don't think he shared the same enthusiasm towards me, because the first main quest he gave me was to go from here all the way to here. It also just so happens to have the only American person living there because he gave me a warm welcome by showing me his Second Amendment right. But I then tried to complete the tutorial, who was taught by your average Slav, but the tutorial is designed in a way to get you to understand how the game mechanics work. Well, in theory, because it acts as a harsh dose of reality that you are a bag of flesh that can die practically instantly, because you have to kill 3 boars. How hard can it be? Just shoot them. Well, the boar AI is designed in a way to hunt in packs, and it also takes a lot of shells, which is a problem when you can only dish out 2 in quick succession. And this quest was so hard. From getting straight up jump scared to the absolute numpty of a man running headfirst into the boars thinking he's the main character and dies and failing the mission, to getting swarmed by these little gremlins before I even saw a boar. You could say this tutorial is a chore. That's such a bad joke, but it's the reason why I haven't made this video till now, because I kept struggling with it, and all that would pop into my head was how the hell would anyone without a sub kink enjoy this? But it wasn't until I beat it and I felt that dopamine throwing through my brain that I realized it feels so rewarding doing something as simple as kill boars. But next up in the tutorial, I had to collect an artifact, which is a highly radioactive object that can be sold for rubles, or it can be used to give you some nice buffs, but if you don't contain it, it will cook you alive. But getting one is a mission of trial and error and finding the best path to get to them. High risk, high reward. And what artifact do I get? Bread. You can't eat it. Basically, I ate a bunch of rads and I had to save scum just for a paperweight. Real sick humor by the devs. But upon completing the tutorial, it was time to venture out and explore the endless opportunities this sandbox offers. And I made my way to Judy's base. They were my guys in Clear Sky, and I wholeheartedly endorse them because humans are terrible and the zone needs to be destroyed. Whether this involves a Chernobyl 2.0, I don't care how it's done. But upon getting there, well, it wasn't Judy. I got absolutely mowed down by the Ukrainian military unprovoked. Did I go into God mode and slaughter them all because I was hard locked with my quick save? Well, there's no evidence anywhere of that, and I couldn't tell you why there is a bunch of dead soldiers here. It was like this when I got here. But I eventually managed to crawl my way to the center of the zone, which is home to one of the memeiest things in the whole series, and could you believe my utter disappointment when I had to fight my way through hell, do things I wasn't proud of, just to get to Rostock and not have the infamous lines said to me. My disappointment is immeasurable and this playthrough is ruined. I then did a bunch more quests, turned off the brain scorcher, and then realized I wanted to give Stalker Gamma a try, which took about a century to download 60 gigabytes worth of mods, which I don't know how they did it, but it somehow runs better than Fallout 4 and Cyberpunk 2077 with half the mods, not even. But moral of the story, don't ever let your guard down, no matter how good your gear is, because as the age-old expression goes, there's always a bigger fish out there who will want to get their hands on your gear. Because I was walking down a desolate road and I couldn't help but get this feeling that someone was watching me. And I was right, which I then promptly gave them some of that Tantu hospitality because I hate being looked at. And no, I'm not acoustic before anyone says anything, but it was just so creepy having the AI literally stalking you. I didn't know their intentions, and it might have been safer to just run away since this is actual advice the game gives you. But the immersion. The Stalker series is really ambient and it makes you feel like you are in a desolate area, and Anomaly takes this up a notch, but ultimately Gamma is, well, I don't want to say peak Stalker, which I'll explain later on, but it's peak atmosphere and probably the closest you can get to what it would be like to be in the zone in real life, because it adds in new animations that look and feel great. The visual enhancements are beautiful, making shooting something as simple as a dog feel intense, but the zone feels alive, sort of like a living, breathing organism that changes and responds to events that happens. I've seen people say the main character of Cyberpunk 2077 is Night City since everything revolves around the city, and you could apply that to Stalker Anomaly since you are a being that reacts to what the zone produces. But the way the zone feels alive is done through things such as radio callouts. If you go out and start causing mayhem to a certain faction, you can see they'll send out a call for help. This happens with and without your input, since there have been times when I see bandits saying they're getting attacked, and this sums up my reaction to it. Even other stalkers in the zone would essentially tweet out that they've just looted and ransacked some poor bastard. But speaking of looting, in Gamma they turn up the immersion, because when you see a group of people get annihilated by mutants, I could not help myself because they might have a gun I like, and hey, the zone is a dog-eat-dog world and I only care about myself. But in Gamma, if you try to loot bodies of people or mutants and other faction members are nearby, they might give you a warning saying not to do it and threaten you. And I like this because it isn't just my interests I have to consider, but also the interests of this random NPC. You can just shoot them and loot, but this will also harm your reputation with said faction. But the sound design does a wonderful job at making things feel so eerie and creepy. You can hear the sounds of anomalies doing their things, the distant growl and scream that makes you think if you let your guard down, that could be you. But it's so satisfying fighting your way through a difficult battle and just seeing a campfire in the distance, pulling up, sitting down, cooking some food, and downing a bottle of vodka with some fellow stalkers with the music of someone playing their guitar. The zone is basically hell, and you found a little temporary spot where you can finally relax and have a little reprieve, this word, from all the danger. That's also what I loved about the Metro games, just relaxing in at a bar of one of the stations, getting pissed drunk before the inevitable, and maybe get mugged by a prostitute, but that's a whole different thing. But the economy system is pretty damn punishing, and for good reason, and it also gets increasingly more difficult depending on which one you decide to play, because buying a fancy smancy weapon will set you back tens of thousands of rubles, and sort of like buying an expensive car, you have to consider wear and tear, maintenance, ammo to fuel the weapon, which means you'll have to loot a crappy condition gun, and you can either choose to pay someone to pays someone to repair it, which is a skill in high demand with low supply, so you'll pay through the nose for it. Or you can buy or loot the required parts to fix it yourself, which is the better option if you know where to look and get accustomed to the repairing mechanics. But Gamma turns it up a notch because you can't buy guns. I read somewhere it might be because arms shipments are restricted into the zone, which means what you scavenge is what you can get, and let me tell you, there is a monumental variety of weapons for all situations and play styles. Going into an area with lots of mutants, a shotgun will get the job done. Have a mission to assassinate someone? Well, better look for a sniper rifle or a scope and silencer for your weapon, otherwise you might put yourself in a vulnerable situation. But the game makes you fight tooth and nail for so little. You can get info on stash locations, which holds pretty decent loot here and there, and this can be done by completing quests or finding PDAs on dead bodies, which you can also sell for a fee depending on how good they are. But ultimately, I've explained what this game, or mod, whatever you want to call it, you can just call it its own bloody game at this point, but I've more or less explained what to expect, and the question remains, who is this game for? I believe it's ideal for people who want a vast open world with the ability to progress how they want and play it whatever the way they want, with as many modifications to gameplay they want. It's more attuned to people who enjoy more punishing game mechanics and really want the thrill of danger and being rewarded for their actions. If you only like to play casual games, you're better off getting the trilogy, and if you feel up for it, give Stalker Anomaly specifically a try, but I can't guarantee it'll be something you click with. For me, I just enjoy going around and feeling immersed and fighting for my life, and if you enjoy that, well, you'll love Stalker Gamma. But earlier in the video, I mentioned peak Stalker, and before we wrap up the video, I should mention Stalker 2, which for obvious reasons has had its trouble with development, but it is expected to come out later in the year, and no, I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but it's people's expectations towards it. Some people have only played Anomaly, and some have only played the base games, and I personally hope it isn't like Anomaly with its brutal game mechanics and lack thereof a good story. My expectations with Stalker 2 is that it will have a fulfilling and lore-rich story, decent side quests that give an incentive to complete them, but also not being a hardcore game. I do hope they keep some arcadey elements to it, especially from the original trilogy, so the game doesn't feel too much of a slog to play. I'm sure it's been said, but the devs are appreciative of the work of modders since it's maintained a consistent popularity of the series throughout all these years, and you never know, in a year or two times after release, we might have Anomaly and Gamma 2, which I believe is where these harsh game mechanics should be left to, as a sort of opt-in scenario, and the base game should not be a cakewalk, but still be a little more accessible for the majority of players. But let's just hope the game does come out and in a state that is acceptable for the price tag, and none of that early access buggy experience. But go ahead and give Anomaly a try after you've played through the trilogy, and if it vibes with you, I recommend giving Gamma a try to really compound on that Anomaly feel, and it's all for free. I want you to watch this playlist of my other Stalker videos so you know what to expect from them, and don't forget to like and subscribe since it greatly helps the channel out. Anyways, my name is Tan2 and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
I can't. Oh wait.
Boys, good work.
Let's fucking go, boys.
Mate.
I just got launched across the map.